I know what it means to live in darkness. I know what it means to live in hopelessness. I was this kid that go around burning down churches and hurting innocent people. But today, it's different. Because of that few minutes that Manny spent with me, he gave me a reason to see a brighter side of the future.
You know, what we do with the children is greater than just providing shoes. Shoes to us in this country is a fashion statement, but to the millions of kids around the world, it's actually a vehicle to help them survive.
He's a special guy. Anyone who would try to give back the way that Manning is giving back, I think it really speaks volumes about what his values are.
I know what type of man he is, and I know the capability and the potential, and also his vision.
Forget the wins, forget the Final Four, forget whatever it can do. When you just made a child's life a little bit better, a 7-year-old little girl who's never owned a pair of shoes, and to see the smile on her face, man, that's magical.
Close to 300 million children wake up each morning without a pair of shoes on their feet. I've been called to put shoes on the feet of children, but we didn't know how in the world this dream was ever going to come to reality. But that's when we came up with the idea, what if we can impact 10 million children? But to get to 10 million, you got to start with your first one. And then one shoe became 2, became 8, became 100, became 1,000. And eventually I remember raising a little over 1,000 pairs of shoes and going to South Africa on our first project. You should see the faces of those children when we wash those kids' feet. Our ambassador literally get on those dirty floors and look them in the eye and ask them, what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you and what's your dream? And then we inspire them and remind them that their dream can come true, that they can dream big. And when they leave, they get up with the smiles on their faces. Oftentimes, the people that are washing these kids' feet are crying. These kids are crying, and we hug each other. And there's a moment in life that you realize that you were placed here to help impact one child.
I want to see that smile.
You know, oftentimes you always wonder, are the things that I'm doing really make a difference? And I remember actually going to this orphanage in Nigeria a long time ago and seeing this young boy.
I was just another kid in Nigeria. I was in a very difficult stage in my life.
And I remember looking him in the eye, wondering what kind of hopeless situation this little boy is in.
He gave me a reason to see a brighter side of the future. He refused to see me giving up on myself.
Ibrahim ended up coming back to school here in the United States and learning how to actually, go around the world and perform humanitarian acts.
Manny made it his job to provide for me.
You doing okay?
I'm doing good. And he took care of me since then.
We've been able to pay forward that which has been done to us, and now Ibrahim is also trying to impact and change the next generation of people so we can all make a difference if we intentionally choose to do what we've been placed here to do. We ask ourselves, what if we could get a Division I basketball coach to help us coach a basketball game on national TV without shoes?
I had to kind of think about it. I called some of the people that I trusted in. I said, hey, what do you think about this? And everyone said that I shouldn't do it except for my mother. And I knew then that it was the right thing to do when Mom said it was okay.
Coach Hunter became the face and the voice for millions of children worldwide. The next year, we had about 1,000 coaches the second year. The third year, we had about 3,000 coaches helping us raise new shoes so we can become that vehicle of hope to be able to transform people's lives.
Whether I'm coaching or whether I'm not, whether I'm done, I'm retired, I will continue to do this, that we can make a dent.
There's so much that can still be done. And our goal is to impact 10 million children worldwide.
10 million shoes in 10 years, I tell you what, it sounds ridiculous, but it's one of those things that's so ridiculous it just might work.
I'll take half of those 10. I'll see Manny in 5 years. Saying, Muggs, I'm there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Manny and Tracy Ohami, founder and co-founder of Samaritan's Feet.
Congratulations. Thank you for your work. Congratulations. Thank you for your work.
Well, good evening, everybody. It is Such a privilege to be here today. I'm blessed. Got my beautiful bride and my bride of almost 32 years. It's pretty amazing. And what a blessing that is. Muslim Muhammad said, man, 10 million sounds ridiculous. But I'm here to tell you today, on October 20th of 2024, we served our 10th million person in Cape Town, South Africa. For a kid who didn't have shoes. And it's amazing to think about the power of dreams, the power of purpose. A friend of mine told me a long time ago, he said the worst thing, the greatest tragedy in life isn't death. He said the greatest tragedy in life is not death. He said it's a life that's lived without purpose. See, I grew up in West Africa. You can tell from my accent, I'm not from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. I used to pray this prayer, God, give me 001. That means it's okay to not have breakfast. It's okay if you don't give me lunch, but God, give me supper so I can make it to the next day. I know some of you guys in the room are saying, there's not a chance this brother's missed a meal in his entire life. But I used to wake up every day just like most kids grow up in West Africa. Anybody ever watched Discovery Channel before? If I see those kids in Africa used to carry baskets in their hands, that used to be me. At the age of 9, I went to the park to go sell water and soft drinks. And there was this group of missionaries that came to my country. They came to teach African children how to play sports. I showed up that day to go sell water and Coca-Cola, my dear friend Frank Garrison. I used to tell him I was one of his greatest salesmen in Nigeria. I showed up to go sell water and soft drinks. I didn't realize I was about to have a date with destiny. There was this brother called Dave from Wisconsin with a little orange ball. See, in Nigeria, everything is round and bounds. We kicked it. But this one, they call it basketball. They were teaching African children how to play sports. I showed up that day, and I put my basket down. I want to join them, and all the kids shooed me away because I was a street merchant. I was trying to join them to teach us how to play basketball. All of a sudden, our Providence would have that little ball rolled around by where I was standing. And I ran after that ball. I grabbed it and I snuck in. I started dribbling the ball and passing the ball. In the middle of all this craziness, this missionary said, we're going to have a shooting competition. He said, the prize for the winner is going to be a new pair of shoes. That plate lit up like a Christmas tree. And every tree was screaming, pick me, pick me, pick me. I was one of the few kids that got picked that day. Never played basketball in my life. But the shot that I threw in was nothing but net. The angels was working overtime that day, I promise you. I became the first person, not just in my family, but my entire community to own a pair of tennis shoes. Changed my life. And as I was going to take up, this man called me to the front. He presented me this brand new pair of shoes. And right before I was finished speaking, I took off. I started running. And right before I ran, he grabbed me by my shoulder. And he said, son, just because all you see around you is poverty doesn't mean the God of the universe has forgotten about you. He said, keep dreaming and keep dreaming big. He could have told me that day the sky was green, I would have believed him. And after I finished speaking, I took off. I ran so fast, I forgot my basket of water. And I showed up at home. Mama looked at me and said, son, where's my water? I said, Mama, check out my shoes. And she was happy for me for about 2 minutes. He said, son, you better go bring my water back. I said, so now you better meet Jesus. And I ran all the way back to the park. And my life was changed that day. You know, the opening speaker said something that really touched my heart. He talked about the importance of fathers. I grew up in a home where I didn't have one of those best examples. Because my father was a guy that was tough. He drank a lot, and every time he was drunk, guess who he took it out on? Yours truly. All I ever heard from him is that I'll never amount to anything. It's so crazy how God will have things. You know, because of that craziness of that man that came to Africa, I didn't realize it was going to change my life. So basketball became my sanctuary. I go to my mom, I said, Mom, why do we have to live so poor? Why do we have to live like this? My mom was very bright and compassionate, loving woman. And she would take me by this little window of my house and say, son, I want you to look outside and tell me what you see. And I would look outside and say, Mom, I see trees. He said, son, look higher and tell me what you see. I said, Mom, I see birds. He said, son, you're not looking high enough. Look much higher and tell me what you see. And I see the clouds. And he said, son, you ever wonder why God created the sky so high? And I say, I don't know, Mama. And she said, so poor boys like you can dream real high. He said, never make an excuse for life. Just because today may be a crappy day doesn't mean tomorrow ain't going to be a great day. As long as my God is on the throne, so you can do all things through Christ who give you strength. I started playing basketball. I started getting good at basketball. Eventually, one day at my junior year, I wish I had more time, but I don't. I'm going to stop in a few minutes here because Devin only gave me 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I went to my coach. I said, Coach, I believe I'm supposed to go play basketball in America. And he looked at me and he laughed at me. He said, son, you're not big enough. You're not fast enough. You're not good enough. I joke around. I said, he was one of the greatest encouragers anybody ever met. But he said, son, you have courage. He said, I don't think anybody in America is going to give you a basketball scholarship. But if anybody responds to you, I'll write you a letter of reference. Guess what? I wrote letters. I ended up getting 5 scholarship offers. See, I didn't know much about America. Thank you. I didn't know much about this country. I heard about New York. I heard about Los Angeles. And I heard about Houston, Texas. I said, well, I'll do what every great Nigerian boy will do. I'll pick the school with the best-looking brochure. Guess what school I picked? The University of North Dakota in Lake Region. I know you guys don't know where North Dakota is. It is the coldest place in the entire world. After I showed up there, I said, African people should not live in North Dakota. But it was the best decision of my life. Because almost 36 years ago, I got a chance to meet a beautiful Greek bride who was a freshman and I was a sophomore. Changed my life. I thought I was going to go feed kids in the world because I didn't know what it was like to have 3 meals a day. I finished my master's degree eventually at North Dakota State. And I said, God, there's got to be a South in this country. I'm going to find it with your strength. So in 1995, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, which changed my life. I joined a very successful technology company right here. And through that process, my father got real sick. And my father, he was about to die. But through that process, actually, he ended up losing his life because of the choices he made. So I had to go back to Africa to bury my dad. And that's when I saw those kids with no shoes. 300 million kids wake up each day with no shoes on their feet. 1.5 billion infected with disease. I said, somebody ought to do something about this. Be careful when you say somebody. At that time, I didn't realize that somebody was going to be this little melanin-strong kid and this little Norwegian girl from me, next to me. We were going to start an organization called Samaritan's Feet. Well, fast forward, 20 years later, this October, we're going to serve our 11th million person. For a kid that doesn't have shoes, we've now served children in over 109 countries all across the globe, 600 U.S. community. For a kid that doesn't have shoes, we now manufacture our own line of shoes. For the first time, we launched a new social enterprise last year in Ghana, West Africa, where we're making the first of its kind shoe in the world, a shoe that has an antimicrobial that actually helps fight parasites and parasitic infection. That's also biodegradation accelerant to help make sure we don't keep shoes to help fill landfill. So I say all that stuff to you, that now we've now hired actually about our first 200 employees in Ghana, over 1,000 part-time and temporary employees. By the middle of this July, we'll have 5 amazing manufacturing machines that will have capacity to manufacture 5 million shoes in 1 year. See, it's amazing. It's amazing what can happen when you choose to have purpose. When you choose to live a life that's bigger than yourself, to live your life for others. See, that's why we're here today. That's why I love Devin. That's why I love every single people in this room. Because when you live for others and you choose to make the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords your compass, there's nothing impossible that you'll be able to do. Thank you for having me today. God bless you guys. I appreciate it.